it's South Sound Real Estate Networking. We're a real estate group that looks to help each other, lean on each other's experiences, and give us each person's knowledge and be able to do some deals within the group and maybe find some deals outside the group as well. So I want to start with who are we, what are we doing, why are we doing it? The main goal here is so that we can all lean on each other's experience, pick up some new information as to techniques that various members of the group are using, find different ways to locate deals, and just support each other through those endeavors. And so really kind of more of a self-mentorship kind of thing. Everybody kind of gets knowledge from others within the group, and that works out really well. Real quickly, I want to introduce my group. I'll have them speak in just a minute, but my loan officer assistant, Serena Norman, and I've got another loan officer assistant, Terrell Palmelson, and then my marketing executive, who I now share with Rick, is Caitlin Ellison. And then Rick is also a founding member of this group, and so he's very instrumental in bringing people to the group and experience to the group as well. So that's our group, and the way that we're going to do this is we're going to do a quick roundtable on this meeting. Each person introduce themselves, talk about the things that they do, the things that they want to do in terms of real estate investing for just a couple, 2-3 minutes. And then once all said and done, I'll do a quick status of the mortgage industry because it seems like it's changing by the day. And then Rick is going to do a case study on his BRRRR model that he's got in Hoquiam. So that's the game plan for today. Serena Norman. Serena, do you want to let everybody know what you do? And
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Serena Norman. I worked with Kevin for almost a year now. I'm a school teacher by day, and I work with him in the evening after school. And what I'm doing is once you've set up your loan or your loan application, I go ahead and set up the loan and then special documents to you. And I also can answer any questions you might have along the way about any documents that you send in. So I'm here and I'm ready to help. Great.
And Terrell, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Terrell. Kevin calls me the doc dog. I'm the one that collects all the documents everyone sends in and pushes to me and puts them all together so that we can try to push forward.
Fantastic. He makes those. He makes getting those docs so much easier on me, and it's so much more efficient, and we get to closings a whole lot quicker thanks to the crew there. And Caitlin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name's Caitlin. I've worked for Geneva for about 5 months, and I took my love for Facebook and became a marketer. And Rick found me through the group as well, and he's like, hey, let me borrow you. I'm like, okay, let's make it happen. And so I focus on the marketing, use all the social posts, the groups, I manage all that. So.
And my name is Kevin Romines. I'm the branch manager for Geneva Financial in Winlock, Washington. We handle all the conventional loans, FHA, all the government loans, FHA, USDA, VA. I specialize in working with real estate investors with that. I do a number of fix and flip loans, and I also do a number of hard money loans. And it's just a matter of having conversations with people to figure out where do they want to be, where they're at today, and give them the roadmap to get from point A to point B, and give them the proper loan that's going to fit their needs. So that's what I do. Rick, I'm going to have you go last because that's going to lead into your thing. So Dennis, do you want to tell us about you?
I'm retired, just looking for maybe something to do and maybe an investment opportunity along the way. Perfect. So Rick brought me in, and we'll see where that leads. Well,
there's a lot of different paths out there, so you've got a lot of good choices.
Right. All right, so I'm excited.
Fantastic. Carrie, do you want to tell us a bit more about you?
20 years in the Army. I've got 6 active left before I retire. And used to live in Texas. I have a property down there. And then I, with the way the market changed, I decided to rent my place up here instead of sell it. So I'm looking for another opportunity and wanted to learn a little bit more about the Washington market. Found your group and just thought I would join.
Fantastic. Great to have you. Sol, do you want to give us a rundown of?
How's everybody doing? I feel like I'm watching the Brady Bunch for some reason. I need to look this way when Kevin's talking and look down when somebody else is talking. So my name is Saul Negrete. I am a full-time real estate investor. Been doing it for about 7 years. The last 2 years, I actually quit my job and doing a real estate broker full-time. And with that, I also have a real estate business that my wife and I do together. So that's what's been going on for the last 7 years. Yeah, full time. So this unfortunately right now doesn't feel like it's working, but I know it's working. I currently have 2 rentals going on. One which Kevin's helping me refinance, so that's my first BRRRR literally, and then the other one would be a buy and hold that we did through a non-lease option. I just drew a blank. It is subject to. There you go. So subject to. That was fun, and it's actually more lucrative. And that's what we got going on right now. When I say we, my wife's not here, so she's the other part of S&J. And if I didn't mention,
you've
I'm
done
a
some flips over the
Gallagher Real Estate
years.
Group. I'm going to mute
You've done
myself.
a number
now.
of flips over the years. Is that right? Perfect. Okay, Mike, Mr. Mike O'Connor, you want to tell us who you are? And
I'm Mike O'Connor. Rick invited me here. I've helped Rick purchase one property here in Hoquiam, Washington. And I was lucky enough one day to pick up the phone in the office, and there was Rick. And we've gotten along pretty well, although so far so good. And he's really knowledgeable. I was impressed with him. I've been at it for 24 years, and Windermere Real Estate. I do leasing, I do commercial, I do homes. It's such a market down here where you can't really just specialize in everything. You got to learn the whole deal, okay? And I've done that. And I enjoy working with Rick, and he invited me here, and I'd like to see what's going on. I've got a good knowledge of Grace Harbor. I've been here my entire existence, which is a long time. But yeah, I'd like to see what this is all about for me, and I'm happy to look for new things.
well, Grace Harbor seems to be the hotbed these days for the investing, because it's hard to find the kinds of deals that you need in other areas, but Grace Harbor seems to be the place.
It is, and you know, we're up probably 20 or 30% than we were 2 years ago. There for a while, there was plenty of $40 to $50 to $60 to $70,000 homes in the west end of Aberdeen, and now they're all about 130 to 140, which us old timers, we think that's just amazing that we're getting that for that. Then the people come flocking in from up north and pick them up. Like, you know, it's a mindset that we have to learn down here.
Oh yeah. Wow. Well, it's good. It's progress, and that's always a good thing. All right. Well, Mr. Shane Hopt, I'm going to unmute you here. Give us a little background on you.
And I'm Shane Hopt. Construction for 20 years. I've been managed some flips back in 2011 for some guys. Ended up taking some pretty big hits and big losses, financially and credit-wise. So started building myself back up. Got back into it, was doing some real estate meetings in Vancouver. That's how I met you, Kevin. Found a house, have a really good realtor that I work with. I called Kevin up, and you know, if anybody has needs of trying to get some money or anything, I'd give Kevin a call. This man works his ass off. He got me the money that I needed for the house. Everybody on his team is working really hard to get me to help come refi the house, be able to hold it, get it out of Harmony. Looking for more places, looking for more projects.
You're just about done with that project down there in Vancouver right now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm just working on the refi, trying to
Okay.
get it through.
So you're going to refinance it. So basically it was BRRRR model for you, and then you're going to hopefully you get enough cash back out of it that you can put that money back into the next project. And Shane's been pretty active in trying to chase down the next couple of deals. We've had some offers in recently, but I think there were some retail buyers that kind of, you know how it goes. A retail buyer cannot always outbid a fix and flipper, but it's not always advisable they do so. But hey, it is what it is. So if he keeps going, he'll find the next deal. So, Norma, how are you?
Hi everybody, I'm Norma from Octomay House Cleaning. So you can see the logo here. Well, they can see different. We 15 years in business, license, bonding, insurance, and well, together, I want to say thank you for Kevin. They sent me the invitations for this meeting. I think I saw before, but yeah, so we work with property manager, real estate agents, and we here for help you for any kind of project you have. So we do move out, move in, cleanliness. So I said we work with real estate agents. So we here and happy to help you guys.
Fantastic, fantastic. Got to get those homes ready to be moved into, huh? Or sold.
Oh, and the other thing is I invited you guys and both we and the Colombian newspaper for this year for the best company. So did you go to my page? You can vote for our company. So it's only 5 companies. So we won 3 years ago. So this year, I hope we can win again.
Fantastic. We'll have to jump on there. Everybody jump on there and vote for them.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. James Cruzmark, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
All right.
So I bought my first, I guess it wasn't my first house, but bought the house I'm living in now with Kevin in August, and we're working on refinancing it, and I'm house hacking it. So I guess it's an investment property now. So once I refinance it, I'm gonna start looking for the next place.
So can you elaborate on the house hack? What exactly do you mean by that?
So it's a 6-bedroom house in Tacoma, and I'm renting out each bedroom individually. And I live here, so I'm only renting 5 of the rooms. It's pretty interesting.
Are you doing well on that? Is you find that the rents, you're getting more rent or about the same? What do you think?
I think I'm getting more than I would if it was a regular single family rental. Well, obviously right now with this current virus thing, there's not a lot of rent coming in, which kind of is unfortunate. But because I live here, I don't have another house payment, so I can manage that on my own through my regular job.
There we go. There we go. Well,
Are you in the U district there up on the hill?
No, it's kind of by Cheney Stadium, a few blocks from Furcrest, if you know the area.
well, the next one, if the next one's going to be your primary residence in a different location, and that then leaves this one as nothing but just a standard rental. Only you're still planning on renting by the room. Is that correct?
Yeah. Once I move out, I'm probably going to turn it over to a property manager and let them manage it. It's going to cost me 10%, but it's still going to cash flow really well.
Good.
So,
That's the key to everything. So, okay. Well, thanks, James. And Raylene, you're up next. You want to give us a little bit of background?
Okay, you're ready to go.
Am I there?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm Rick's sidekick. We just purchased a property in Hoquiam that Mike O'Connor helped us get to, and you, of course. So far, we're just remodeling it, and we're gonna rent it out as soon as it's ready and hold on to it and refinance it. Hopefully, things go well there.
Oh, I've seen a few of those numbers. I think things are going to go just fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just got to learn some of the basic rules of, doing this too. This is new to me also. Rick's teaching me a lot.
There you go. He's a good teacher.
Yeah.
All right. And Kim, do you want to pop in there? And I don't see your face, but I know you're online with us.
Yeah, I'm here. I have wimpy internet, so it's better for me not to go on video. So I'm Kim, and I've done some wholesaling in the past, and right now I'm focusing on rehabbing. So I'm actively looking for good flip properties, and that's what my focus is right now. I had some good success with wholesaling and a wholesale in Lewis County, but I want to get the experience of the rehab. We've rehabbed a number of homes in our own family ourselves. So, it's not like I'm unfamiliar with that process, but as far as doing it as a business model, that's what I'm focusing on right now, and just looking for properties. I've got some marketing, some PPC marketing going right now, and just learning lots of stuff all the time.
I've been in it for 25 years, and I still learn things every day. It's amazing. Okay, well, why don't we kick it over to Rick? And Rick is going to introduce himself, and then he's going to do a case study on his BRRRR model that he's got in Hoquiam. And take it away, Rick.
Well, thank you, Kevin. My mic is picking up the speaker over there. She's gone. She went into the other room.
Okay.
That takes care of it. All right, so my name is Rick Villamil. My wife and I own our real estate investments. So we kind of actually got into real estate investing kind of on accident. We purchased the home that we're in right now several years. My mom passed away. This was her home, and shortly after she passed away, we took over this house here. But my wife and I wanted to live our dream of living out on a lake, so we bought a property out on Emerald Lake, just outside of Shelton, and so we didn't want to get rid of the property, so we turned this into a rental, and it did pretty well. I mean, it had a little bit of a positive cash flow. It wasn't great, but it was enough to not only pay the mortgage and all of that stuff, but allowed me to pay for some of the fix-ups that we did to it before, before they left. We were in our lake house for about 3 years and decided, it was too much driving 40 minutes and running 2 stores, plus my full-time job. And so we said, let's get rid of the lake house. And so we took back over this house because it's nice and close to our stores. And we said, oh, okay. We figured that, when we initially ran the numbers that, we basically lived in our lake house for $500 a month. Okay. It wasn't great, but it was, not bad living on a lake for 3 years for $500 a month. And then we really got to looking at the numbers after tax time, and we took a look at things and we're going, wow, we really saved a lot of money on taxes. And then we looked at the other part of where real estate really helps, and that is in pay down. So it's like, oh, the renter was paying our mortgage for 3 years. Oh, and then appreciation came along, and all of a sudden, we had a nice spread in value. Enough that, just refinanced that house for us not too long ago, was in February, and we pulled out almost $100,000. And that's what launched our official real estate investment journey. So now we're doing it with purpose. And we started looking around and trying to find out, well, where do we want to go? And I spent about 6 months trying to really educate myself into, what are the different opportunities in real estate. And we really fell in love with the BRRRR model. So that's what we're going to talk about today is the BRRRR model, kind of what we're doing with our house in Oakwood. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Share screen, presentation. Here we go. And there we go. BRRRR. It's not a statement about the temperature. So BRRRR actually stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. Okay, do it all over again. Well, let me do this. There we go. So one of the key things in doing the BRRRR model is trying to find a distressed property, and you want to try to use the 70% rule. For those of you that don't know what the 70% rule is, I'll kind of lay that out for you. You take what your after repair value is, you multiply that by 0.7. Then you subtract your rehab costs, okay? And that's about what you need to be looking at for your target price, okay? Now, there's a couple of other rules that you can look at that'll help you out, such as, when you're looking at renting it out, you want to look at what's called the 1% rule, which states that, you need to be able to get out of the rent what 1%, your rent should be 1% of what you have into it. And for this deal, it does. Then there's another rule called the 50% rule. And that is 50% of your expenses, or 50% of your rent will go to expenses, not including your mortgage and interest. And geez, this hits that mark as well. So as you can see on this screen, we have a picture up here of a property. It looks pretty distressed. And how do you go about finding some of the distressed properties? There's a variety of ways to do it. One of them is you can do what's called driving for dollars. Okay, that is literally you're driving around neighborhood to neighborhood, which, by the way, Mike, I was driving for dollars when I called you yesterday. And I did find a couple of properties that, were potential to look at, but yeah, they didn't quite fit what I was looking for. But that's one way to locate off-market properties. Then you can also use the MLS, and we actually found this property we're looking at, what we're going to be talking about today, off of the MLS. But in this particular case, and Kevin brought this to my attention yesterday, it's like, well, what was it specific about this property that made you go look for it? Well, this property had been on the market for over a year. So when I was looking at realtor.com, one of the tools that I looked at, I actually said, sort by age of market, and I scrolled down to the bottom. And I started working my way up, and I saw the property that we bought, and they had just dropped the price. And they originally were asking, I believe it was $130,000. And after a couple of price drops, with still real good, solid purchases. I think there were a couple of times that actually went off market because they potentially had some buyers and fell through. I don't know everything about it, but it took a year by the time they made the last price drop, and they actually dropped it down to $99.9. And that's when I called up the realtor, and that's when I met Mike, and he took us over to take a look at it. We made an offer, and we'll show some of the numbers on it in a little bit. So, you know, you can find it on the MLS. Other ways that you can look for distressed property, you know, is that, you know, here you see on the picture, you know, a physically distressed property, but you might be able to find a seller that is in distress, and the property itself may not be in distress. It could be from an estate. In the case of the house that we're working on right now, it was the executor of the estate that was selling the property. But also foreclosure is another way to find distressed properties. So there's a lot of different ways to find it where you can really find a way to make some money. So we're going to go on to the next piece, which is the rehab piece. And if any of you have any questions along the way, you know, raise hand, and Kevin will chime in. So the next piece is rehab. So after we buy, we rehab the property. It does require some good budgeting and estimation skills so you don't have overruns. That is a skill that we'll say it takes time to hone.
It does. Did you use any tools, like Bigger Pockets has a cost estimator on their website? Did you use any of those tools?
Well, yeah, actually I did, but more than just using the estimation tool. The estimation tool on Bigger Pockets does help in doing all of the math for you, but it doesn't help you know, well, how much should I budget for drywall, or how much should I budget for flooring? For that, I grabbed Jay Scott's book, Estimating Rehab Projects, off of Bigger Pockets, and read that cover to cover multiple times. And that really helped me figure out, okay, this is what I should figure out. And when I plugged the numbers in based on the formulas that was in Jay Scott's book, and I plugged that into the rehab calculator on Bigger Pockets, it ended up that we were pretty darn close. Oh, there were a couple of things, and we'll do an update when we're complete on this, but there were a couple of things that we didn't quite figure in. Like one thing is the level of electrical rehab that we were going to do was greater than I expected, and the plumbing, I wasn't expecting to do repiping of all of my supply lines, but in the long run I think it's going to be well worth repiping all the supply lines.
Now, did you have a contingency budget in your overall budget? Contingency for overruns and that?
Yes, I do. So as I did my budgeting and whatnot, I took what my total dollar amount was, and I multiplied that by 15%. So my contingency that I had for my budget is 15%. You know, the Jay Scott's book says 10%. I like to be a little conservative, so I chose 15% for to account for any cost overruns. And I'm glad that I did that. So I don't think that I'm going to kill my budget too much, even though I'm doing some other things. One of the things that we're really trying to work hard on doing is to not over rehab the property. My wife and I we're constantly, well, what if we do this and what if we do that? And we have to remind ourselves, no, this is a rental. This is not our personal house. So, we're not going to, spend, $5,000 for, really nice cabinets and countertops when the countertop or the cabinets that are there are just fine. We just need to paint them, and we spend $1,000 on new countertops. So that's an appropriate amount of rehab. But, we're going, but I really want granite countertops. Contractors, what can I say about contractors? Finding a good contractor is really hard, and keeping them on task is just as hard. Do not underestimate the time it takes to locate a contractor and get some good numbers. I think we finally found one that I think is going to be my rock star contractor. He's actually at the house right now, replumbing for us. So it's like, yeah, I like that. He's working late. Time is huge, and we got hit hard on time. And I say that is because just after we pulled the trigger, we got everything all closed. We went down there, signed everything all off, and everything was looking good. I'm starting to line up contractors to get all of my appropriate bids, and COVID hit. And everything is shut down. And so now everybody stopped work for close to a month. So the reason why that's important is because we continue to pay our interest payments on our hard money loan. Okay, so this is why time is of the essence. Once you close, you want to get the contractors in there as quickly as possible and get them rocking and rolling, because the longer your house is vacant, the more money it costs you. So that's one of the things that we're learning. Fortunately, with Kevin's advice, we really overestimated the amount of time that we were going to allot for our rehab. And Kevin said, you know what, Rick, this is your first one. Let's figure 7 months before your hard money. And I'm so glad that he did that. I just got done sending off my second interest-only payment for our hard money loan at the beginning of this month. We'll still be within our 7 months, but COVID really, if we would have done it on a 4-month, what I originally had estimated, we would have been hurting. So thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, hey, it's always about making sure you're safe in the deal, and that you got enough time left to do the things that you need to do. And granted, who saw COVID coming? But just a normal fix and flip type project, you got to set things up for the right time frame. And I think if I remember right, we set that up for 12 months. So you've actually got 12 months on the hard money. But but he was figuring a shorter term time on the construction or the rehab part of it, and I was just warning him, hey, even though you're thinking a shorter period of time, you might want to really kind of rethink that, because you just don't know what's around the corner, and it's just better to plan for a longer period of time, and then if you can get out from underneath it, the hard money loan in a shorter period of time, then that's good. It works to your favor. So
I think we're still going to be okay.
yeah, I think
so. The next R is rent. By the way, that's the picture of that house that we purchased. Okay, so as you can see, for rent, 4-bedroom, 1 bath, newly remodeled with spacious living room, dining room, kitchen, large kitchen area, 2-car garage in back, extra off-street parking, blah 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 blah. Okay, so what did we do when we're looking for rent on this? There's a couple of tools that we looked at to help us. Mike was definitely a help. He provided some really good input on that. So yeah, talk to your realtor if you're working with a realtor and get their input. We also interviewed a couple of different property managers and got their feedback on it. We've subsequently decided that for our first house, we're actually going to self-manage, but and the reason is for the education. As we add more to our portfolio, we will likely move off to a property manager, or we'll create a new property management company that Raylene will run. But we needed to make sure that that we had that education, and the budget, as we get into the numbers here shortly, we do have property management budgeted. So what are we going to rent this for? This house, believe it or not, in Hoquiam, Washington, is going to rent for, we're going to actually put it on the market for $1,480. Now, how did we come up to that number? I said we talked to property managers, we talked to the realtor. There's another tool called Rentometer or Rentometer, however you want to put it in there. You give it the address, you tell it how many bedrooms you've got, and it has a database of various properties that rent out in that market area, and it'll tell you where on a continuum you fit. And 1450 is exactly right up the middle of the dial. Well, there's one other resource that we found out about that really solidified our decision for what we are going to rent this out for. HUD has a little on their website for their Section 8 area. They have what they call the fair market rental value assigned for various different areas. And when we took a look on the HUD website, the fair market rental value for this house in this area is $1,480 a month. So that's what HUD is willing to pay, minus the tenant's portion of it. They're saying that that's a fair value. So if HUD thinks that's a fair value, well, by golly, I think it's a fair value too.
So that, again, you got to that information by going to HUD's website and looking up the Section 8, and then there was some kind of valuation model that you could click on, and it would tell you what that was.
Yes, and in fact, I can provide that to Caitlin so that she can share that with the notes.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. So the
Can
next
you explain
part,
real quick in case people have questions, what is Section 8 and how does it work real quick?
So Section 8 is, there are two kinds of programs that HUD provides. There are project housing, and then there is the Section 8 voucher program, which gives low-income families the ability for choice in housing. So it gives somebody, it gives that low-income single mom of 4 kids the ability to get a pretty decent home, and they don't have to pay the rent because they can't afford it. So, for example, if the single mom of 4, I'm just using that as an example, she makes $2,500 a month in her job. She really can't afford a $1,500 a month house. That's half of her income. So the HUD program says, you know what, we're going to help you out. We'll give you a voucher. You go over to the landlord. The landlord, you'll pay a portion of the rent up to 30% of your income, and then we will pay the landlord the remaining amount. Now, what's really nice from a landlord's perspective is that makes the property as recession resistant as one can probably get. And I say that because, the federal government, they're going to continue paying the rent even if the tenant loses their job because of COVID. So there's a lot of folks out there that say, well, Section 8 housing has a lot of stigma attached to it. And you know what? This is what I'm going to tell you is that you can get bad renters, whether they're Section 8 or not. One of the things that I look at, and I really subscribe to Dr. Joe, Asamoah, I think is his last name. He's also on Bigger Pockets, and he focuses his efforts in Washington, D.C., and he takes larger homes like this, and he rents them out, and he focuses on Section 8 tenants and does really well, but he treats them really well. But the key is screening. Tenant screening is paramount. If you don't screen your tenants really well, it doesn't matter whether you've got whether it's a Section 8 tenant or somebody else. Anybody can tear up your property, and I think Dennis might even know about that. Yep. So they don't have to be Section 8 to tear up your property. But, because of that, Section 8 does have a bad rap with some landlords. And, some people will say that Section 8 housing is for slumlords. That's not true. If you provide a really good product and you market it as a really good product and you screen really, really well, you can get a tenant in there that'll stay for years. And since turnover is what kills you, that's what we want to do, is we want to find a tenant that's going to stay there for years and take care of our property, and that they're going to be, thankful to be have that property.
So on the spectrum, what's next after potentially rents?
Okay, well, that brings the next one, refi. Okay, so now that we've increased the value of the home, we're going to refinance it. So, and I'm going to show you the numbers here in just a little bit. But remember, we talked about that 70% rule. And the reason for that 70% rule is now, after we get done, we're going to refinance the property. And we'll still have, if we did everything right, we had the rehab in there. We've got the valuation in there. We've got about a 25 to 30% margin in there. We won't have to pull out it. We could actually refi and pay ourselves back the down payment that we put to get the house and do the rehab. So that's the goal of the refi. So buy, rehab, rent, refi. and then we repeat the process all over again. Okay? Because again, the whole idea of the refi is to get our money back that we put into it so that we can turn around and use it for our next property. And believe me, we're already starting that look for the next property. So here's a picture of the inside of the property that we purchased. That lovely wallpaper is going bye-bye.
What? You're not going to keep it? It's historic.
Yeah, it's 100 years old. Oh, I'll save that story for a later time. But yeah, there's 7 layers of wallpaper there. And originally we were just going to, paint over it. And as we were looking at how to paint over the wallpaper, it can be done, but you got to clean some stuff off and get rid of any bubbles. And well, when we started to take care of any bubbles, it peeled away. 100 years worth of wallpaper peeled away with shiplap underneath. So we're drywalling the wallpaper right over the top of it. All right, so I'm going to share with you some numbers, and these are the initial numbers that that I ran, and I used the Bigger Pocket BRRRR calculator for this. So based on what we were looking at for the home, and what other houses were selling for on a per square footage basis, we took a conservative estimate and guessed that the after repair value on the house would be about $141,000. So I told you that we got a pretty good deal, that the buyers were pretty motivated on this. They had just dropped the price after being on the market for over a year down to $99,900, and we looked at that, and after walking through it, we said no. We offered $80,000 for it. And to our astonishment, they accepted. It's like, wow, cool. All right, so now we ran inspection, and I'm going to tell you that number changed after our inspection. The electrical, the inspector came back and said the electrical was higher, going to end up being higher than what I originally expected. I originally expected about $5,000 for the electrical, and looking around, it was going to be closer to 10. So I went back and said, Mike, can you tell them I'll split that cost in half, and we'll say $75,000. And he said, well, we'll see what they say. And they accepted. So we actually purchased this for $75,000, not $80,000. We estimated closing costs at $4,000, a rehab budget of $33,000 for an all-in of $117,000. Figuring that we would refi that on a 75% LTV. LTV is loan to value. So we took that $141,000, multiplied that by 75% is a refi amount of $105,000. We took out our holding costs. That left us with $17,000 left in the deal. Oh, considering that we started off with closer to $30,000 with our down payments and our rehab, not bad. So now what does it look like on the other end? So we looked at what we were going to rent it out for. We expect a 5% vacancy rate in Grace Harbor. And I could use that because it's really a renters or a landlord's market in Grace Harbor. There's a real shortage of rentals available there. So between what the property managers and the different property managers I talked to, they said, 5% would even be high. Your people just don't have vacancies. Repairs, because we're doing a complete rehab on this house, repairs are going to be minimal, but we still are putting 5% for ongoing repairs. We have a 5% capital expenditure account that we're keeping, and then we're setting 10% aside for property management fees. So those little buckets there adds up to $350,000 or $350 a month. Principal and interest payments, taxes, and insurance is another 660. Oh, I didn't put that number in there on purpose.
I'll put your interest rate around, and that way you don't have that evil number when it's all said.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Bring my interest rate down, Kevin.
Oh, I was going to go the other way. I was going to go up, but if you want it down.
No. Okay. I want it down. So that would give us a total expenses of $1,016 a month. That's principal, interest, taxes, insurance, vacancy repairs, CapEx, and property management. Now remember I said we had about $17,000 left in the deal. So we have a positive cash flow of $384 a month times 12 months. That leaves us a gross profit of $4,608 a year. We divide that by how much we have left in the deal, and that leaves us with a 26.4% cash-on-cash return. What does that mean? We get all of our money back, every penny that we invested into this, in less than 4 years. And then it just continues to pay us. That's what real estate investment, that's the part about real estate investment that gets me excited.
Saul's clapping. He's got a few of those going himself.
So that's what we've got. Now I'm going to tell you that we will be updating our numbers as we get closer to having things done. We are in the middle of our rehab. Some of the things that we estimated are going to be off. Our budget, our rehab budget is we kind of blew it a little bit, but not a lot of bit. But we also underestimated our rental. So I think all in all, we're still going to be right on par with the cash-on-cash return. And we actually may end up with even less of our own money in the deal when we're done.
Yeah, I would guess that your ARV you've got some room where the ARV could actually be a little bit higher. And if in fact it comes in a little bit higher, then that means you're leaving less money in the deal. That means you're getting more cash on cash return, or the percentage on your cash on cash return is bigger and the payback time is less. So all the way around, even more of a winner if that's the case. So
I think, and Mike and I were talking about that yesterday. Are you still there? Hi, Mike. Mike and I were talking about some of that yesterday, and based on some of the comps that we were looking at another deal that we are potentially looking at, that 141 I believe is going to be low.
Okay. Well, that's a good problem to have. So
yeah,
something coming in higher on value is always a good thing. We've had a lot of decent demand. Demand hasn't really went away. So because of that, I would think that, and demand in theory is going to be hanging with us for an extended period of time. There's a few groups that I follow, and they always closely watch household formations. And we're in a time period for the next 7 to 10 years where household formations are going to go up dramatically because of the birth rates from 33 years ago. And so that's going to just increase demand. And when you have increased demand, that only leads to one thing, and that's higher prices. So we just, at this point, we haven't been able to build ourselves out from underneath the demand supply that we've got. So, and rentals, it's very rare for a rental to ever go backwards on the rents. So they may stagnate for a little bit at worst, but most of the time they're ever increasing. So if this is what your rents are today, tomorrow it's going to be something better. So it'd be interesting to see on that HUD website whether or not you can get a history of rents in a given area for what they paid and what they used to pay.
I think that they do have that information. So, like I said, I will grab that link, and I will at least to the fair market rental value link, so that other people can see it too. But if you poke around in the HUD website, there's all kinds of information to find.
Good. So have you had any difficulties finding contractors and that kind of thing for your properties?
You know what? I got really lucky, and I've had the same contractor for these last 2 jobs. And thanks to COVID, really, is what it was. He had no other jobs, so I was his person. So thankfully, no, I haven't had a problem with it. But otherwise, yeah, I would think it would have been a big issue, because one of the reasons is he didn't even want to work for me because of the whole, you couldn't work. So I had him do a lot of the work inside before he had to do any work outside, before he actually did any work outside.
There you go. Interesting, because that seems to be the common theme for everybody is the difficulties finding the contractors and keeping the good ones, because the good ones, they tend to be busy. So
well, before COVID hit, we were starting to line up contractors and trying to reach out, and I called every single plumber that was listed in the Grays Harbor County area, and I got 0 calls back. And I mean, I'm leaving messages on 5 and 6 different times on their voicemail. Please call me, please call me, please call me. We got this property, we need to get this done. And I was lucky enough to get one to come out to do some line inspection for me during the inspection phase. But he told me right off the bat, but we don't do rehabs. They only do the scoping. It's like, oh, great. So I'm really lucky that I was able to find somebody that was willing to come out here. The market, especially in the Olympia area, is so hot and heavy. The contractors are just working left and right, and they're telling me, well, we've got work lined up for 3 months out. I can't wait 3 months.
Yeah, that would be difficult. Holy cow. Hey, we've had a couple of new people jump on. Let's go circle back and have them introduce themselves. Christina, I see that you're on. Do you want to introduce yourself? Christina, are you with us? Okay, so she may have stepped away. I'm not sure. Okay, and Lori Heffington, I think you just joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Lori Heffington. Hey. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can. Fire away.
Okay. My name's Lori Heffington. Used to work with Kevin. And we're going to be, we're hoping to be building a new home here within the year, selling our manufactured home. And so just want to kind of find out what's going on with the market and stuff.
Hey, speaking of that, Lori and I had a conversation. Lori's got, what year's your manufactured home?
I believe it's a 97.
Okay, so it's a 97 double wide. How many square feet and how many bedroom, bathroom?
It's a Redmond. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I am not. I think it's. I'm not sure on how square feet it is. Just a second, I can look and see. Let's see here.
3-bedroom. What she's going to do is once she gets done building the house and she's going to have the manufactured home, she wants to sell the manufactured home. It would make a good rental if somebody could, set up the crew to come in and pull it out of that property and then put it in on another piece of property you might have. The difficulty is when you have a twice moved manufactured home, you can't get traditional financing on it. However, it could be the kind of situation where somebody could maybe pay cash for the home and then move it on to another lot, and it could be a very good cash flowing property for that person. So Lori's gonna, when she gets to that point, going to be in a position where she wants to offer it up for sale. And I told her I'd throw that information out to the group because who knows, any of you might be of interest to move it to a lot somewhat near where her existing house is at, and then to set it up for a rental or set it up to sell it on owner contract or whatever you think you might want to do. So it could be a good opportunity for somebody there.
And where is that area?
Winlock, the big city of.
Winlock. Yeah.
So it's down in my neck of the woods. You probably wouldn't want to have to move it very far. But the nice thing about Winlock is there's plenty of land that somebody could buy. And so at that point, you're getting into the home at a pretty darn decent price. And then it's just the land and the improvements and moving and the moving costs to do all that. But I would think that when you're all said and done, you're in and out of that whole project for a lot less than what it would ultimately be worth. Norma's driving. Are you working, Norma?
I want to see a customer, the things they doing this morning, a cleaning that she was renting. So she moved out for the place. So I'm going to check it out. So I'm always flexible. And like you said, we always take care of our customers.
There you go.
Yeah,
I know you're going from morning to night, it seems like, all the time.
Oh yeah, I love what we're doing, and when I do something, I get passion.
There you go. There you go.
But everything is fine. I had a speaker. Yeah.
We would love to get your information at some point when you're not driving and put it in the chat. We can get it in the directory and hopefully keep you a little bit busy. And same with Lori, if you want to put some of your information in, we can maybe pair with somebody down the road.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, text me your email and I'm happy to send you the information.
Yeah, I put it into the chat, which you'll be able to see when this is done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect.
Another thing that we're doing with the directory is if anybody has any recommendations for contractors, insurance, specialty contractors, we've got a whole list of people that we're kind of looking for recommendations on, so that everybody can draw from the same experience. Like Rick's got a rock star contractor that he's willing to share. Not really.
I keep him busy by myself.
Yeah. So if he's got a good contractor and if he can't quite keep him busy all by himself, then maybe he can throw his contractor's name in there, and between all of the group, we could maybe keep people busy, kind of like what we're doing with Caitlin here. I'm having to share Caitlin just a little bit, but she's excited about the things that she's going to do to help out Rick and Wineberry. Raylene and Lineberry. So,
Yeah,
so
if you have those recommendations, please email them to me. Don't like stuff the chat full of them. If you email the contact information, I would be more than happy to get it on there for everybody to have access.
right, we can get Norma and Octomates on the list as well, so that everybody, when we're going to send out an email or a newsletter, are we doing that how often are we doing that?
The newsletters are out on Fridays, and I try and have them out by that same time, but we've been having problems with those, so when I figure out what the heck to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and anything that I can help you. We have a lot of cosplayers that we have 50 years in business, and if you want to, depends what kind of business you have, we can refer to our customers too.
Okay. Well, Shane is down in your area. Shane helped, and a good buddy of mine, and he may need some help on some cleaning and that kind of thing coming up on his stuff. So, does anybody have any questions for Rick and with regards to the BRRRR model that he went through there? So again,
I think it made amazing business, and it was really interesting, and I'm learning a lot about what he was talking about his business. Really interesting.
Well, thank you, Norma. I'm trying to. The more I can share what I've learned, the more I actually learn myself. So.
Yeah.
And we're going to get Raylene to learn a lot more about project management, right, honey?
There we go.
So, Kevin.
Yeah.
What about next meetings, and how often are we going to do these? And what about, are we always going to be doing virtual, or are we going to ever do in-person meetings?
Nice softball pitch.
It was underhanded too. You should hit that one out of the park, dude.
There you go. I think Caitlin's going to have an answer for us on the next meeting.
Yes, we have our next meeting. It is June 9th. I believe we have Michael Stedman coming and presenting for us. I believe he's an investor from what I've heard. And we started this with the grand plan and all the fine details to do it in person. And the government's like, coronavirus. And we're like, great. So it kind of derailed that big event, and we're going to stay virtual. I could stay virtual until the end of the year, and starting the new year, start fresh in person and just really hit it out of the park then.
Yeah, we're planning 2 meetings a month once we can actually get to a point where we can meet face to face. Our meeting is going to be in Lacey at the event center. Is that right?
Yes, I need to defer our commitment there.
Okay. So anyway, we've got a room and we've got dates that we had set up already, but of course we can't do it face to face just yet. So we're going to do one face to face meeting a month, and we're also going to do one virtual meeting a month, because then that way we probably would get the most attendance between the two meeting setups. So. Do I see Jody lurking in the background? So she didn't join us. There you are. I knew you were there. What do you got to tell us with regards to the real estate market? What's happening?
Talking to you.
Talking to you.
Finding deals is a little harder than we anticipated with what's going on. But you know what? They're still out there. So keep trying.
Are you guys trying to stay mostly in the Olympia area, or are you thinking about branching out from there?
We're all Thurston.
All Thurston. Okay.
I'm the one that stays in the backyard. She wants to go out of state, which is fine.
Well, he said Olympia. You told him yourself. Oh.
Ah,
Yes.
well, I
Yes.
tell you, that out of
He
state,
pulls the
now
reins.
that's interesting, but it could be scary too.
So just a little heads up then, since you guys brought that up. So our next guest is Michael Stedman. He has Stedman Properties. He's also sits on the Lacey City Council, currently running for Thurston County Commissioner. But Stedman Properties is a family-owned REIT, and they do a lot of out-of-state residential investments, as well as local commercials. So we can probably get a little bit of information on both sides. So if you want to know about out of state, make sure you ask him about that.
That's good to
He's
know.
our next presenter at our next meeting. And again, Caitlin, you said that was June 9th?
Yeah, it'll be June 9th at 6 o'clock. The 6 o'clock time seems to be working out. So yeah. We have the dates out a little bit further, but we don't have exactly what's happening at all of them. We are trying to get Michael for the next one. We have to coordinate with his committee.
Yeah, his campaign staff, and he's already and he's already told his campaign staff to put it on his schedule so that they don't try to schedule some other kind of campaign event, so that he is available.
Okay. Yeah, and considering that the family has a REIT, so a REIT is a real estate investment trust, that tends to have a lot more horsepower when you have a REIT, meaning that they do probably a lot more deals than the average bear. And so it would be interesting to talk to them about where do they locate their financing, where do they find their deals, and that kind of thing, because deals come from a lot of different angles depending on what you're looking for. For instance, Rick's deal was a deal that was listed, and it was, how long was it listed for?
Over a year.
Over a year.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to find a deal, is do searches for properties that have been listed for an extended period of time. If they're listed, they're still wanting to sell, and they've got to be motivated at that point, and motivated in your direction, meaning lowering that price. So, at that point, if you think throwing an average low ball offer is kind of embarrassing in some cases, the longer it's been listed, might not be such a low ball offer at that point. It might be something they accept. Rick's happened to be in the state.
Mike can attest. I was kind of like wondering, is this going to be, insulting? And he said, well, let's give it a shot.
Rick and Riley, they had the perfect storm, really. I mean, the place was with 2 failed sales in a year, and the executor of the estate living in the house wanting to leave, along with some siblings that were causing everybody a little strife. So it was really something to look for. If you guys are looking for something that's over a year old or something, you got to know it's going to be not in good condition. And if the roof is no good and the foundation is no good, that's the double whammy, and that costs a lot to fix that. But if only one of those 2 are bad, you got a chance. That's my own opinion. I've been through the FHA 203K programs, VA 203, whatever they are, they're no good, really. Now, Kevin is the first guy that I've run into in a long while that is willing to go the extra mile with a hard money loan and then a rehab loan or a refinance. That makes all the sense in the world. By the time you get through the government situation, you have to have a contractor that is HUD approved to give you estimates on what it's going to cost. So then at that point, they lend you that money on top of what the owner wants. And it's just, I've never made one work. It's just a laborious process. So I think the way that Rick did it, I think that was the best. And we're going to continue looking that way for sure.
Yeah, honestly, if you're going to do a fix and flip, you either got to go hard money or you got to go fix and flip. If you try to do any of the Fannie Mae loans or the FHA loans and that kind of thing, honestly, you're going to be so disappointed by the time you get through with that loan. You're going to be so frustrated because the level of paperwork that it takes, and it's those loans. Some of those loans are for owner occupied only, and then other of those loans are for non-owner occupied. But honestly, you're just so much better off, and it's such a quicker, easier deal to do hard money or fix and flip money. So the one thing I was going to tell you guys in terms of the status of the industry, the mortgage industry, real quick. So the mortgage industry is changing day by day because of COVID. It's really kind of hurt the mortgage industry in a big way with all these forbearances that the U.S. government announced. Hey, you can go into forbearance and it's not going to hurt your credit. Well, not true. It does hurt your credit. And what happens is the lenders have to change the status on the loan from paid as agreed to forbearance. Well, forbearance is a fancy way of saying you're in default. And so then that puts that person in a position where they can't get financing for at least 1 to 4 years after that, depending on how all that's handled. So that was a big shot in the arm to the mortgage industry, because the mortgage industry still has to pay the bills, even if the borrower doesn't pay the bill. So we've been looking for stability to come back into the industry. Ginnie Mae is the regulatory agency that governs all the government loans. So Ginnie Mae backstops FHA, VA, USDA. Ginnie Mae was very unhappy with what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's regulators came out and what they said and what they did to kind of backstop the mortgage industry. Ginnie Mae says, well, we're going to do it the right way. And they actually put out some packages that were very, very good and brought a lot of stability to the mortgage industry. And that took place, they brought out their multifamily package on May 4th, and they're getting ready to bring out their residential package. Residential is 1 to 4 units. We're hoping that they're going to announce that this week. That'll bring more stability back into the market. Fannie and Freddie, the regulators are saying, nope, we're not gonna do anything. You guys, we created this mess for you guys, but you guys are tough. You can handle it. And so,
oh, excuse me. I need to go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I hope I see you next time to everybody.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks for attending. We'd love to have you
I
anytime.
go ready for go. Thank you. Remember,
All right,
Norma
thanks,
from
Norma.
Octomay. Okay, bye.
So I don't know what's going to happen with Fannie and Freddie. I don't know if the government's actually going to step in and create the stability that they really need to create. I still hopeful that they're going to do that. So what is that doing? That's kind of creating some turmoil in the interest rates, turmoil in the loan programs that are available. Not all the loan programs that were available 2 months ago are still available today. All the mainstream programs, all the stuff right down the middle, the vanilla type programs, those are still good. Your owner occupied, just want to refinance to lower the interest rate, that's no problem. Owner occupied cash outs, they're not backstopping those like they are the ones where they're not pulling cash out. So because they're not backstopping them, the interest rates on the cash outs are a bit higher these days. They're not backstopping non-owner occupied, so that means that the interest rates on non-owner occupieds are a little bit higher. It also means that the credit score requirements and the loan are higher, and the loan to values, they're wanting to see a little bit lower loan to values. The fix and flip and the hard money market, a lot of the hard money and the fix and flip players kind of pulled away and stopped lending for a period of time. They're trickling back in now. So they're coming back. They're doing more deals. They changed their guidelines a little bit. It used to be you could go up to 90% on a purchase with a hard money loan, and they would do 100% of the financing. So basically, you only had to have 10% into the deal. I think when I did it for Rick and Raylene, we did that at 15%. No, it was 20%, but then they allowed you to roll the closing costs in. So it was the net effect of 15. So the new deal now is they're going to want 15 to 20% down. They're much more conservative. You got to have your ARV cannot exceed, say, 65 to 75%. So they want to see that you're getting a good deal right off the bat, and they're going to kind of help be your eyes and ears. And if they say no, that's a good thing. You want them to say no because that saves you. If they say no, that's a good opportunity for you to go back and renegotiate. So it's the deals are still out there. The lending's still out there. It's just changed a little bit. And as more and more stability comes back into the market on the mortgage side of things, things will get easier and better. And we've already seen a good movement on that, and we've already seen a good movement on the interest rates. Interest rates for some market segments have come down over a point in the last month, a whole point. So, and if we get the stability back in the market, we widely expect our 30-year fixed rates on the vanilla type stuff to be in the 1.5% to 2% range. You say that's crazy, but I'm telling you, that's where it's going to be. So that's kind of the status of the mortgage industry. It's tougher to do them, but you can still do them. Just need to kind of communicate with me, and I'll kind of help build that roadmap for you to get from point A to point B.
So Kevin, I'm going to kind of reiterate a little bit of what, some of the wisdom that you imparted on me when we were going through the process. One of the things that helped us with that loan and getting the terms that we did is that we were able to go to that hard money lender with multiple exit strategies. So if you're going to go, if you can come in with multiple exit strategies, it's going to make it a lot easier to be able to get that loan. In our case, we went ahead and Kevin already had me all set ready to go for the refinance. So when we went to talk to the hard money lender, it's like, okay, hey, here, he's buying this. We're going to rehab it. And oh, by the way, he's already ready to go for the refi. And so that made the hard money lender a lot more comfortable. In addition, we also looked at how we were looking at the property. Yes, our BRRRR strategy is our primary strategy, but the way that we did, the way that we structured the deal, at worst case scenario for us, we'd flip it and make just a couple of $1,000, but we'd still get out of it. And even when I say a couple of thousand, that'd be closer to about 20 to 25,000.
Just a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah. But so we thought about those things ahead of time, and this is all of the education and time that I spent on all of the books that I was reading and all of the YouTube and podcasts that I was listening to. My poor wife. Yeah, she's nodding her head. So she was an education widow for a while. But it's paying off in the deal. And, the next step for us is, we know that, this is the first one that we're doing intentionally. But, now the next thing for us is, all right, let's finish this up and then let's start to scale this because 1 is not enough. 2 is not enough. I've got about 10 years left to go for retirement, and it would be really nice. Honey, you're going to hear this for the first time. It would be really nice if we could actually scale to the point of fulfilling my namesake. So my last name is Villamil. Villa means house. Mil means 1,000. So let's see if we can get there.
I guess I better hire some more staff then, huh? Oh, sorry, I can't let Caitlin go now because we're going to be too busy.
Or maybe I'll keep her too busy.
I'm a double agent. I got this.
I had a question about the Washington market, if I can jump in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was hesitant at first to want to be property owner or landlord in Washington, just because of some of the things I had seen in Seattle, where they were talking about, you can't have anybody, you can not evict anybody during the winter months, or you have to take the first applicant that's approved. So I'm just trying to understand that market, or if you still think it's like this. The house that I'm in now is not one that I would typically rent out, because it's a really nice property, and I'm a little worried about keeping it long term, because it is a little pricier than what I'm used to renting. My house in Texas, I've almost got that paid off. So I'm just a little hesitant, but I don't want to take a big loss if I sell it right now. Any thoughts?
What market what area are you in? Because yeah, Seattle is very progressive. And yeah, they got folks on our council like Savant or Devant person. Yeah, her. Very socialist and yeah, but I'm going to tell you that not every market is the same. Okay.
I'm in Lacey.
Okay. So we're not as liberal as the Seattle area. With that said, you want to make sure that you're going to be very conservative in when you do things. So when you do when you have your set asides, you saw what I had on there for my vacancy rates. I was able to be pretty aggressive on that number. Here, I would probably make up that a little bit, because if you get somebody in there, you want to take longer time to screen. We don't have the have to take the first eligible renter law in Thurston County. They have it there because they have a huge homeless problem up there. It could get to that point here, but that's where your screening comes in. Okay. If you have a really strong screening process, you can weed out a lot of those undesirables before they get into your house.
Now, I did find a renter already. They're opening a franchise, so they look like a good candidate. I have to go through the rest of the process with them. Yeah, so I think I've got a really good candidate so far.
Carrie, here's your screening tools. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jody.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I just want to say, if you have an awesome property management company when you're out of state, that's huge. We have one and we're in state, and they're amazing. They are on top of the law. They're called Real Estate Gladiators. They do an excellent screening. We just got 2 properties, and one's not even done, and we already have a deposit down to hold it. They're on top of it. They have their systems down. So, and it was really easy to get it filled when I was like, oh no, COVID is happening and nobody can move or anything, and they filled up right away. So
people still need a place to live.
Yeah. So
they make sure your property is 100% good to go. I saw her inspections that she did through our place, and she did not leave, a doorknob unturned, a light unlit. She checked everything. So they make sure your property is good to go as well.
And what kind of deposit? I mean, are they just taking a, first month's rent and then a deposit, or what is it typical in Thurston?
I honestly don't know. I let
Any
them do that.
recommendations
That's
on what I should
I
do?
think in accordance with the contract, I believe it was half of the first month's rent.
That's low. Most what I
think
see
it's a-
is full month's rent
I think
as the
it's,
deposit.
I believe it's full month. They're not asking for first and last. There's a, and it all changes, especially if there's a pet or no pet, and they're.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure it was a first month's rent.
What kind of rent range do you think that you're going to be in?
They've already agreed to 2,500.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a new property. Than the last couple of years, it's got all the bells and whistles. Again, I was not going to rent this place out. I was just going to sell it, but I'm worried I wouldn't be able to get the premium that I was going to get before. So if I have to wait a year and a half, I'm fine with doing that. I'm a little bit, I like the house in Texas a little more as a rental because the property's not worth as much down there as it is up here.
I think 2,500 is fairly common in Lacey for a newer house. So I think that you're in the right range.
And with that much, you know, if once your rent is higher, you know, you get better tenants. So that care.
And that's what I was thinking about, that I'd have a lot better tenants. I didn't know if you get, I'm sorry to, unless someone else has a question, I got one.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know, like, after getting a second property that's going to be rental and then I'm going to buy a house in Arizona, are most people going with like an LLC, or how are you doing your insurance and everything? Yeah.
So you're going to get a better rate if you finance everything through your personal names rather than an LLC. Now, Raylene and I do have an LLC, but we have the LLC because we also own another store. You know, so real estate isn't our first gig; it's our next gig. But what I've been finding out is the LLC really isn't going to help you as much there. It'll actually hurt you more because of the higher rates, because you're going to pay commercial rates rather than your lower conventional rates. And where you can get better protection is through an umbrella policy on your insurance.
Yeah, to expand on that, so everybody that had properties in LLCs, what they were doing is if they kept the property in the LLC and financed it, then they were going through what's called portfolio loans. Portfolio loans are designed for real estate investors, and the loan can be in the name of the LLC. You still have to give a personal guarantee, but the loan at that point is in the LLC's name. Portfolio in the last 2 months went away because of COVID, and it'll come back. But the question is, when will it come back? I don't know. The better method, so Fannie Mae back in 2016 saw that there was a lot of people that were financing the property in their personal name, and when it was all said and done, they'd moved the property from that to their LLC for their asset protection. And so Fannie Mae changed the rules on June 1st of 2016 to now allow the borrowers, once they've completed the loan, to transfer the property to the LLC, so long as they're the majority members of the LLC, and that it will not now trigger the due on sale clause, because they realized everybody was doing that anyway. So they just made it an official rule. By doing it that way, you're going to get residential rates, which are going to be a lot better than any commercial rates that you would get. And you still have the asset protection through the LLC. But as Rick mentioned, the better setup is make sure that you have a properly sized umbrella policy, because let's face it, any attorney that truly wants to pierce the veil of an LLC and get to your personal assets, they can do it. So if you have the umbrella policy, what happens is you've got that hedge of protection, but also on any of your primary insurance policies plus your umbrella policy, they also have to pay for your defense costs. So if you get into a lawsuit, they're paying that defense costs, and you're not having to worry about it. And that defense cost sometimes can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the better protection for you. The LLC, in terms of its protection, it is true. It gives you protection, but I'm telling you, you get an attorney that knows what they're doing, they can get you outside that LLC, and if they do, now you're in trouble. So the insurance policy is your best friend on that deal. I only know that because when Lori and I were working together, I took a break from the mortgage industry. I've been in it for 25 years, but when Lori and I were working together, we were working together at Farmers. So Lori could tell you probably a lot more about that than I could. So let's see. Did we catch all your questions there?
Yeah, thank you. That is because I wasn't having to finance again since I own both of the properties, unless unless I have to refinance this one for some reason. I think it is a VA loan, and since I'm PCSing, I think they might make me refinance if I'm gonna rent it out. I have to look into that.
So if you got to refinance, what you would want to do is do what's called and if you want to keep it on a VA loan, you would do what's called a VA BRRRR loan. It's a interest rate reduction loan. When you do the interest rate reduction loan, which I'm happen to be doing one for another fellow who is on here right now. Anyway, when you do a interest rate reduction loan, the nice thing is you don't have to remain or stay owner occupied. Whereas the original VA loan for the purchase, it's only for owner occupied. The BRRRR loan is you can be non-owner occupied. It doesn't matter. The only drawback is if you want to use your VA eligibility again, you may or may not have a certain amount of eligibility that would be left depending on how much was used on that particular property. So you might want to strategize a little bit in terms of the refinance. If you've got enough equity, then and you can roll it over into a Fannie Mae, that's great. Then that frees up your VA for your next purchase. If you don't have quite enough equity, then you could at least go into a BRRRR loan and maybe you've got enough eligibility left over that you can still do a VA on your next loan wherever you go.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, guys, I think we're just about wrapped up. Although you gotta, I don't know if I'm gonna get this right. I'm gonna share my screen, give you the closing. Look out.
Tech support, I got it.
Okay, she's gonna do it. So hang on here.